Hello everybody, welcome. I'm No02 and thank you for watching this video. Now, I was operating under the assumption that there's two ways to sort of play out the capturing phase. One, you capture the cities closest to your base in the most logical and efficient way possible. The other way would be to skip a city or two, sending an infantry out a little bit further to a contested territory, capturing it easier, uncontested essentially. My thought on this was if you captured bases or cities closest to your bases and sort of naturally work your way out onto the map, that would yield you an early game economic advantage against somebody who skipped a city or two to get somewhere else onto the map a little bit sooner. But as I've been playing my games and trying to pay attention to it, particularly in standard games where I can see the economy in its entirety between both players, I found that more times than not, if I captured bases closest or cities closest to my bases, I didn't really feel like it was yielding an economic result or advantage really, in that in the long term I was ending up behind because my opponents were at the contested territories sooner. So I think for a lot of you guys out there, you probably already know the answer to this question. But if I were to take my infantry down here and move them to this city, is that the most economic thing that I can do on this particular turn? Now, granted, so long as this infantry is going to a city in some degree, obviously it's going to be economic. But is there an economic advantage to capturing this city right here that's closest to our base versus moving our infantry out and capturing this, or beginning to capture this on our day 2? So that's what I'll be talking about in this video here. City skipping or not city skipping. What are the differences? I'll show you the numbers specifically here. And the way, actually check out the timestamps for this video, because I'm very specifically I'm going to be breaking this video down in this order. One, here in this sort of vacuum space, I'm going to be showing you the numbers as far as like from day 1 to day 7, what it looks like when we don't city skip. And then I'll contrast that with skipping one city and what those numbers look like. I'll then talk about what the significance of these numbers are, how they affect our early game, our capture phase, what choices do we have to make as far as what our particular build order is, economy or contested territories. And then finally, I'll show you a real game where I don't know, almost to the extreme, I actively pursued the closest cities to my bases, looking for the best chains early on. My opponent ended up skipping, I think, 3 cities to get to contested territories sooner, and I'll show you what that game ends up looking like as far as the economy plays out. And for me, I was actually quite surprised. So what I got set up here is just a map where I think that was kind of nicely reflected the concepts here. Ignore everything else. We're going to be operating under the assumption that the HQ isn't giving us $1,000. We're keeping the numbers as small as possible. You can get just a little vacuum space, a sterile environment for my little science experiment here. So we'll start off with a no city skip, which means that this infantry on our base here will move. He'll plant himself right there, and he will begin capturing. He'll begin capturing. I'll give you a little peek at the numbers here. What we're really looking at here. So this is no skip. This is our day 1 right here. We have our 1 base, which has generated 1,000 gold for us. So our total gold generated on our turn 1 is 1,000 gold. We only have the 1 base, so our income per day is 1,000 gold. But we have 1 base currently capturing. Right, and that is essentially reflected here. We build another infantry because that's what you do. And then we unweight. We are now in day 2. We capture this city. We take this guy, and he can go up. He can go over here. It doesn't really matter. Let's say he goes over here. There's a lot of territories in the bottom right corner. Let's head in that direction too. And we end, right? And then we end our turn essentially. And so we can see reflected day 2. We only had the 1 base at the start, so we've generated a total of 2,000 gold. We've captured our city though, right? Our currently capturing transitions into 2,000 gold income per day. So going into our day 3, we'll have that 2,000 gold, and we're currently capturing no cities. Currently capturing no cities. We'll unweight, We'll move our stuff around, right? We'll move our guy around. We begin capturing here. The most logical step is for this guy to go straight up. And he'll go straight up. I'm just sort of ignoring the bases over here, right? It's like, this is a vacuum, so we're just capturing cities, because for the most part, that's what your infantry are going to be doing in a given match. And so at this point, right, we'll build another infantry. Build another infantry here. And that was our day 3. That was our day 3. So we had, going into day 3, 2,000 income per day. So we've generated a total of 4,000. We didn't have anything capturing, so we're still at our 2,000 per day. But now we're currently capturing 1. We're on wait. We're now in our day 4, right? Day 4. Yeah, we're now into our day 4. We finish capturing this base. We move up to begin capturing this. This guy moves up here to begin capturing this. And I think at this point for this scenario, this guy isn't going anywhere else. He's not capturing anything else. It's just, for the most part, our simulation's pretty close to being done here. Right, that was our day 4. This one, again, reflected here, but we're capturing 2 cities on our day 4 here. Up there. And we'll unwait. Right, things will begin to move along again, right? 2, 3. We finished the capture. To our day 5. And we're now here. Day 5, we've generated a total of 9,000 gold. We have 5 buildings in total captured, right? Including our base. You're not currently capturing anything. And then we move into our day 6. Our day 6 ends with 1, 2, 3. Somebody capturing, right? Or, yeah, that's fine. 3, 2, 3, right? Doesn't really matter at this point. This is our day 6. Day 6, we've generated a total of 14,000 gold with 5,000. We've got 5 bases, or 5 cities, 5 buildings, capturing 1. Going to day 7, we've generated a total of 19,000 gold. We have 6 buildings. And that's what we have, right? And that was with no skipping for the most part, right? No, we didn't skip that initial building. And to me, I thought for the most part, that would yield 1,000 gold difference versus skipping the building. Well, let's grab our numbers down here. And this is with skip now, right? This is with skipping that initial building. So we'll reset our scenario. We move 1, 2, 3. We're going to skip this building. We'll build our infantry. We'll unwait. But here we'll begin to capture. And we'll move over here. And we'll begin to capture. And then we'll build our infantry. We'll unwait. So this is now our day 3, right? Day 1 was moving out. Day 2, we've begun capturing. We're now at the start of day 3. But let's look at the numbers, right? We're at the start of our day 3. We've generated a total of 3,000 gold. We're going to be ending this day 3 with 3,000 gold, right? So we have 2 capturing at the end of day 2. The day 3 up here, we have 4,000 gold. 2 bases, though. Right? And so I thought, like, yes, here is the economic advantage. We skipped that city, so on our day 3, we're actually 1,000 gold behind comparatively to our day 3 when we do the skip. Right? But it's our day 3. We finish our captures. We'll move this guy up. Go to extra infantry. That's the end of our day 3. We'll unwait. We have begun day 4. We have begun day 4. We'll move out. 1, 2, 3. Begin our capture. This guy would do the same thing the last infantry did, right? This is our day 4. On our day 4, though, because we'd captured 2 buildings, we've generated a total of 6,000 gold. We still have our 3 buildings ready to go. Notice on our day 4, When we didn't skip the city, it's actually the same. It's actually the same. It evens out. On day 4, when you don't skip the city, you end up with 6k gold. On day 4, when you do skip the city, it's the same thing, 6k gold. Right? Even though just the previous day, it looked like we were 1,000 gold behind. Looked like we were 1,000 gold behind. And now we can continue out the whole scenario, right? That was our... Where were we at? Day 4, right? That was our day 4. We can go into day 5. Our day 5, we do our captures. Guy does whatever. That's our day 5 with no skip. And on our day 5 with no skip, we're at 9,000 gold, the same as our day 5. The same as our day 5 with no skip. But we're a city behind again as far as capturing goes. Day 5 here we have 5 buildings. Day 5 here we only have 4, but we're capturing 2. You can see we only have 4, but we're capturing 2. One wait. We'll do our capture. And this guy sets up for that. This guy does whatever. Doesn't matter. Oops. That's us going into our day 6 now, right? And again, it sort of looks like we're going to be 1,000 gold behind. Day 6, when we don't skip, we're at 14,000 gold generated in total. We have 5 buildings. We're capturing 1. Day 6, when we do skip, which we're looking at right now, 13,000 gold generated. 6 buildings, though. Not capturing anything. When we go into day 7, it evens out again. 19,000 gold in total generated. 6,000 gold as far as buildings are concerned. 6,000 gold as far as buildings are concerned. And you can sort of see a pattern here. When we didn't skip a city, it sort of looked like we would be ahead on some turns 1,000 gold, but would be behind on some turns with currently captured, with buildings being currently captured. But in the long run, the pattern would be we would be behind 1,000 gold with the skip, but then it would even out. Then we'd be behind again, and then it would even out. And so as far as I could tell with this little scenario here, there's actually no real economic damage being suffered for doing a little city skip that is reflected here in this scenario. So what really is the difference then? What really is the difference? And the only things I can really come up with, maybe you guys got other ideas, different suggestions, and of course this might be nuanced and different on every other map, of course. But the real difference here is, as far as I can tell, is what we said before. Maybe there is a particular build order as far as the money is concerned. No skip did yield an extra 1,000 gold on some turns, though on the next turn it would sort of even out again. So one advantage that you can maybe possibly take by doing this no city skip concept is that if you're trying to hit a particular number on a particular day, let's say on day 6 you got your 8k excess gold. That's what this is. Under the assumption that we're only building 1 infantry out of the base at a time, we eventually begin to pool up money. We eventually have a bank that sort of carries over from turn to turn. Under that assumption that we're only building an infantry at a time, and of course these numbers would all be inflated in a real game because you wouldn't just be operating out of one base, there could be a particular day where you hit a value number, excess funds, where you can maybe sneak out an extra unit, or maybe you can sneak in a unit a day sooner than you typically would. A helicopter a day sooner, right? A tank a day sooner, maybe, depending on the maps. Obviously, the tank day sooner may not work because of the way the maps typically are, but The idea is if you don't skip the city, there will be the occasional day where you're 1,000 gold up compared to yourself if you were to skip that city. And you can maybe take advantage of that extra K to produce and maybe an extra unit or a unit a day sooner than you typically would. Because on the next day, though, it ends up evening out anyways. The possible advantage of the city skip when we skip this initial city and move sooner out onto the map, we're not really hurting ourselves economically, but we aren't getting that extra 1,000 that we do with no city skip. In fact, we're behind on 1,000 gold. So if there's a particular unit that you're trying to get out on a particular day, it may not happen. In fact, so this might be a build order thing where you do no city skip, you can potentially get a unit out sooner. If you do the city skip, you are going to get to an area 1 day sooner. 1 day sooner. And that's sort of the difference that I can find. Maybe an economic build order choice, or you want to get an infantry to a particular area 1 day sooner, which can be rather significant. So I thought that was quite interesting that either way you look at it, there ends up being no economic damage in the long run, so long as you're chaining infantry out of the base into cities with or without the city skip. And it ends up being your choice. With the city skip, you can get somewhere a little bit sooner. No city skip, you can potentially get a unit out a day sooner. And that's sort of the only difference that I can really tell. Now, the final bit here is a game where I do 0 city skipping. I even go backwards in some places simply to just get the best chains possible and sort of just leave it like that. Where my opponent is going to skip 3 cities. He's going to skip 3 cities. And so in this sort of extreme scenario, I thought surely I was going to get an early game economic advantage. We'll see how it plays out. There'll also be a link in the description to me going over this game in its entirety, because I actually thought this was kind of a cool game. You guys can let me know there if you agree or not. I'm Sammy in the orange, and my opponent is Adder in the yellow. And so it plays out pretty normally. I'm going first here. All right, so I build 2 infantry in my turn. Now his turn 1, he moves to capture the base. Normal stuff. I get this first capture, right? Right out of the base, the most economic thing to do. I move to get my neutral base. His day 2, he skips this city. This is in range. He can grab this city, and then you can chain it together with that city. He does not do that. He grabs his base. He grabs his city. Right here. That's mirrored down there. And so the second I saw him do this, I thought, all right. Economic advantage for me. That was my thinking. We begin capturing the base. I capture down there. I move down to capture this. And this is where I thought it got interesting. This is where I thought, okay, surely now that he skipped this city twice, that me getting this chain before him will yield an economic advantage. And we're going to keep going through this, and I'll show you. I'm not going to show you the numbers. I'll talk about the numbers when we get to day 5. Right? I begin capturing the city by the tower, get my base going, move out here. I even ignore these cities on purpose. I'm just like, at this point, I got the idea that I am going to make a video about this concept, this idea. Let's take it to the extreme. Let's stay as far away as possible from the contested cities, even though this is logically the better choice to go for here. We're just ignoring it, and we're just gonna let him have whatever he wants if he's gonna skip anything to get there. We set up over here. Ignore the artillery. Don't worry about that. And we capture. Notice down here too what he does, because he's gonna do another city skip here. He finally begins his chain. He begins it as we've already completed it. I'm like, yes, we gotta be ahead. But if you look at the buildings, we're not really ahead in any way, right? If you look at the, we have no money in the bank. 13,000 worth of units, so that's our total income generated is 13,000. He's going second. He's at a total of 15,000 income generated. And then he skips this city. He skips it. He had an infantry on this forest. He skipped it, right? Did you guys see that? You see that? He skipped that city, and I'm beginning to capture it. And he's got nothing back here. Now, granted, he's got these guys up here, right? And now we're at total 19,000 generated. And I thought, okay, yes, like day 5, right? This is, I've done my capture. I'm now going right into another chain. He's not even going to be able to begin that chain yet. He's a couple days behind. He's 2 days behind over there. And we'll set up here. But what does the numbers show? What do the numbers show? Now we're now into his day 5. We're now into his day 5. And at this point here, I have the number right here. At this point, I have generated a total of 19,000 gold. I'm going to end this, or 19,000 gold. I have 8K worth of buildings, and I'm capturing 4 buildings currently. But he's generated 20,000 income. He has 9K. He's going to end his turn with 9K here. As far as captures go, he's going to end with 9 buildings. And he's going to have 2 buildings mid-capture. Going into day 6, I've generated 27,000, right? We'll just skip the whole turn. I have 12K buildings, and I'm capturing 2. But at the end of his turn here, at the end of his day 6, he's generated 30,000 income. He's pulling ahead. He's pulling ahead in income. Whereas I thought I was getting a clear and obvious economic advantage by capturing this chain sooner. By going from here to here to here. Chaining those buildings together. Where he skipped, and then skipped, and then skipped again. And then look down here. He skipped 1, 2, 3, 4 times. He skipped 4 times. 4 times. And I did 0 skipping. I skipped 0 buildings. He skipped buildings 4 times. Yet the way the money is working out is that he is slightly ahead of me in the economy. Now, granted, remember that pattern, that sort of ebb and flow, where when we didn't skip, we got a sort of extra chunk of change. When we did skip, we were behind on some turns, but then eventually evened out. At the end of both of our day 7s, I've generated 39,000 gold with 14K buildings, and I'm capturing none. At the end of his day 7 here, he has a total of 40,000. Ignore the numbers here. These get messed up because we began fighting. But at the end of his day 7, he's generated a total of 40,000. So he's still 1,000 gold ahead of me. He has 14K. And he's got 3 buildings capturing. 3 buildings capturing. Let's see here. He's got the city right here. The airport back here. The city over here. And he still has these 2 cities in the back that he hasn't even touched yet. At this point, he's generated more money than me. He is equal on buildings controlled. And he still has stuff to gain in the back. And he did that by skipping buildings, cities, 4 times. Once to get here. Once to get here. Once down here when he moved over here. And then he did it again with that same infantry to get over here. 4 times did he skip a capture that he could have gotten technically a day sooner, a turn earlier. And so at this point I was just baffled. Just baffled, and technically I still am. I don't know exactly the nuances of how this all works out. But as far as I can tell, the generalization that I can give you is, so long as you are chaining infantry out of a base, and they are eventually going to move to a city, and then successfully capture it, city skipping really doesn't hurt you economically. Now, granted, he goes second, and from what I understand, going second because you have the infantry to start with. You are technically a little bit ahead in the capture race here. But there's that ebb and flow that, he's got the extra guy, but I get 2 captures, or potentially. I don't know how it works out. You know what I'm talking about, though, right? The turn 1, turn 2 economic difference or whatever. But I thought surely with me not skipping anything and him skipping 4 times that there would be an economic difference. There isn't. And in fact, I'm still 1,000 gold behind. But I end up in a game state where I don't have any of the contested territories. He's already on top of them. I have to fight to get cities back if I want to equalize in the economy. And so here it really did look like, at least I can tell, when I talked about previously, what's the difference between city skipping and not? Well, unless you have a unbelievably specific and particular build order that you want to build a certain unit on a certain day, and the only way that you can do it is by not skipping any cities, then sure, that can be a thing, that could be a strategy, that could be potentially a book opening on a particular map. Maybe it's this map. But I feel that, illustrated by this game here, that doing a couple of city skips to get to contested territories earlier is most likely going to be better for you in the long run when it comes to your map control and your mid to late game economy, right? Your economy coming out of the capturing phase will probably be stronger if you skip a city or two. And I'm sure for a lot of you, this game looks really, really dumb because I'm Sammy and I actively went away from all early game infantry fights, which you don't do as Sammy because you win them. But I just really wanted to show how this is a huge contrast, really big contrast here, where city skipping really didn't hurt my opponent that badly. And I think that's all I have to say. Thoughts, feelings, ideas, concepts, things I didn't understand or explain correctly, please in the comments let me know. I would really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. But I think just in general, in a summary here, city skipping to get to contested territories in most cases is probably going to be better than 0 city skipping, unless you got some very specific build order, build day contingency where you want to take advantage slightly of the extra gold that is not really extra gold in the long run to maybe build a unit a day earlier. Otherwise, city skipping to get to contested territory is most likely going to be better for you. Alright, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll see you in the future.